targeting people.
Oh my, you know, we can't. You can't make these things up, ladies and gentlemen. You can't make it up. As much as you may try to make it up, you can't. You can't make it up about this fraternity in Oklahoma singing this song. You can't make that up. You can't make it up in a municipality where there's 33,000 summons. And there's only about 5,000 or 6,000 residents in that municipality. And there's 33,000 summons. You can't make that up. You know. Now let's listen to this county sheriff and what he's saying about the justice findings and Eric Holder. Let's listen to this county sheriff. Let's take a listen. By the way, this is on Fox, okay? Just so you can forewarn. This is David Clark, a black man.
7 months after those riots in Ferguson, Missouri broke out, the Justice Department final report is out. And the Justice finding that widespread discrimination throughout the police department there, but not in the shooting of Michael Brown himself. Now Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark is worrying this report will be used to paint all police officers as racist. The Attorney General kept saying, in Ferguson, but you think subliminally the message is suspect all police officers?
Neil, 2 words, witch hunt. The pattern is there. Some of the inflammatory rhetoric we've heard from the Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder. He has had Ferguson, Missouri in his crosshairs ever since the Mike Brown and Officer Darren Wilson tragic situation occurred. He did not have an open mind. He had a predetermined mindset going into this investigation, and I think that's what we're seeing here. I'm not buying one word of his conclusion here. It's because the Attorney General doesn't have any integrity anymore. This is the only Attorney General in the history of the Department of Justice that's been found in contempt of Congress for not supplying Congress with the reports that they needed to conduct their investigation. Now he goes into Ferguson, Missouri, and other cities across the United States, and he demands information and reports to see what's going on there. If I were the chief of Ferguson at the time, I would have said, Mr. Holder, I'll be more than glad to hand over all the information and reports you need as soon as you supply Congress with the information they need so they can conduct their investigation. I think it's a sad day. I really do. I think that Eric Holder has an animosity, a genuine hostility toward local law enforcement, specifically white police officers. He truly believes, and I believe this, that he thinks that every white police officer is a stone cold racist, and it's just simply not true.
You know, there were a number of incidents in ticketing and all the rest that might show, at least in Ferguson, there were a lot of racially biased incidents. Who am I to judge? But what concerned me here was the reference he made to Michael Brown. Throwaway line in the report that he did not, or the department did not believe that Michael Brown ever had his hands up. Now, if that was the case, then why not follow up on what you had said, Attorney General, would be a follow-up probe into the matter? The department decided not to go that route. So I thought this was almost like a gratuitous slap.
Well, he was going to extract his pound of flesh come hell or high water. He knew there was nothing there to charge Officer Darren Wilson with. Darren Wilson offered or acted reasonably under the rule of law in defending his life, but somehow he wanted to come out of this with some sort of badge, as a parting gift, I guess.
So he made a charge, though, that to your point, he couldn't substantiate, right?
Without a doubt. And he's trying to save face here, and that's why I said I'm not buying one word of this report. Now, he pointed to some traffic data, some data points there, and he cherry-picked a couple of emails about some very disgusting off-color remarks made in email exchanges with some officers. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What about all the officers of Ferguson Police? What about the officers all across the United States who don't engage in that kind of disgusting banter back and forth, or joking, if you will? It doesn't go on, but yet he's using this broad brush not just with Ferguson Police Department, because this isn't the first police department that he has indicted for some sort of a racial bias. You know, when you view everything through the prism of lens, like Eric Holder does, you're going to find it. You could find someone who eats red licorice. You could say they're prejudiced or biased against eating black licorice. I mean, that's how ridiculous it can
young
get.
African-American males, and we've gotten into this, Sheriff, are going to seize on this report and say, we always knew it. What do you tell them?
Yeah, they're reaffirming, and he's helping reaffirm a false notion. If you look at the research and data that I have, it just doesn't exist. It's not true. It's a false notion. It's a false narrative. But like you said, he's reaffirming this false narrative, and that's why I find it destructive. I'll be glad when we can finally close the ugly chapter of the Eric Holder tenure at the United States Department of Justice, and I implore the United States Senate to take the vote on Loretta Lynch so that we can move forward.
Brave down black men and dig. Reach up black men and women and pull all nature's knowledge to you. Turn you around and make a conquest of everything, north and south, east and west. And then when you will have wrought will, you will have merited God's blessings. And as you bow down to the white man today, so will other races bow down to you and call you a race of masters because of the superiority of your minds and your achievements. We must canonize our own saints, create our own martyrs, and elevate the positions of fame and honor. Black men and black women who have made a distinct contribution to our racial history. Sojourner Truth is worthy of a place of sainthood alongside of Joan of Arc. Christmas addicts and George William Gordon are entitled to the halo of martyrdom with no less glory than that of the martyrs of any other race. Africa's produced countless numbers of men and women in war and peace whose luster and bravery outshine that of any other people. Then why not see good and perfection in ourselves? God made man Lord of his creation, gave him possession and ownership of the world. And you have been so darned lazy that they've allowed the other fellow to run away with the whole world, and now he's bluffing you and tell you that the world belongs to him and that you have no part in it. I don't have to apologize to anybody for being black, because God Almighty knew exactly what he was doing when he made me black. Me black. Me black. You race of cowards, you race of imbeciles, you race of good-for-nothings. If you cannot do what other men have done, what other races have done, what other nations have done, then you had better die. Can we do it?
There was two kinds of slaves.
We can do it. We can do it. And any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. That will enslave you. That will enslave you. Let me say that again. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. That will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. Britain under William Pitt Earl of Chatham did it. America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. Because when the history of my suffering is complete, future generations shall have in their hands the guide by which they shall know the sins of the 20th century. I know, and I know you too believe in time, but we shall wait patiently for 200 years if need be to face our enemies through our posterity. After my enemies are satisfied, in life or death I shall come back to serve even as I served before. In life I shall be the same, in death I shall be a terror to the foes of African liberty. That need to be the real Marcus Garvey I would like to be. If I may come in an earthquake or a cyclone or a plague or pestilence or as God would have me, then be assured that I shall never desert you and make your enemies triumph over you. If I should die in prison in Atlanta, my work shall not only just begin, but I shall live in the physical or the spiritual to see the day of Africa's glory. When I am dead, wrap the mantle of the red, the black, and the green around me. For in the new life I shall rise up with God's grace and blessings to lead the millions up the heights of triumph in the colors that you well know. Look for me in the world when a storm. Look for me all around you. For I shall come back and bring with me countless millions of black slaves who have died in America, who have died in the West Indies, and millions who have died in Africa to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life. The world today has gone drunk and crazy with its power, and by such to injustice, fraud, and lies have crushed the unfortunate. But if I'm crushed by the system of influence and misdirected power, my cause shall rise again to plague the conscience of the corrupt. For this I'm happy to suffer and even die, for I will write the history for the millions that are coming, and leave the posterity to reckon with the host for the deeds of their fathers. They just laugh at you, return the laughter to them. If they mimic you, return the compliment with equal force. They have no more right to dishonor, disrespect and disregard your feeling in manhood, then you have been dealing with them. Honor them when they honor you. Disrespect and disregard them when they violently treat you. Their arrogance is but skin deep, an assumption that has no foundation in morals or in law.
There was two kinds of slaves. There was the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negro, they lived in the house with master. They dressed pretty good. They ate good because they ate his food, what he left. They lived in the attic or the basement, but still they lived near their master. And they loved their master more than the master loved himself. They would give their life to save their master's house quicker than the master would. The house Negro, if the master said, we got a good house here, the house Negro said, yeah, we got a good house here. Whenever the master said we, he said we. That's how you can tell a house Negro. If the master's house caught on fire, the house Negro would fight harder to put the blaze out than the master would. If the master got sick, the house Negro would say, what's the matter, boss? We sick. We sick. He identified himself with his master more than his master identified with himself. And if you came to the house Negro and said, let's run away, let's escape, let's separate, that house Negro would look at you and say, man, you crazy. What you mean separate? Where is there a better house than this? Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this? That was that house Negro. In those days he was called a house nigger. And that's what we call him today because we still got some house niggers running around here. This modern house Negro loves his master. He wants to live near him. He'll pay 3 times as much as the house is worth just to live near his master. And then brag about, I'm the only Negro out here. I'm the only one on my job. I'm the only one in this school. You're nothing but a house Negro. And if someone come to you right now and say, let's separate, you say the same thing that the house Negro said on the plantation. What you mean separate? From America? This good white man? Where you gonna get a better job than you get here? I mean, this is what you say. I ain't left nothing in Africa. That's what you say. Why, you left your mind in Africa. On that same plantation, there was the field Negro. The field Negro, those were the masses. There was always more Negroes in the field than there was Negroes in the house. The Negro in the field caught hell. He ate leftovers. In the house, they ate high up on the hull. The Negro in the field didn't get nothing but what was left of the insides of the hull. They call them chitlins nowadays. In those days, they call them what they were, guts. That's what you were, a gut eater. And some of you all still gut eaters. The field Negro was beaten from morning till night. He lived in a shack, in a hut. He wore cast-off clothes. And he hated his master. I say he hated his master. He was intelligent. That house Negro loved his master. But that field Negro, remember, they were in the majority. And they hated the master. When the house caught on fire, he didn't try and put it out. That field Negro prayed for a wind, for a breeze. When the master got sick, the field Negro prayed that he died. someone come to the field Negro and said, let's separate, let's run. He didn't say, where are we going? He said, any place is better than here. You got field Negroes in America today. I'm a field Negro.